Hey there, YouTube. Madwitch here. Um, Today's altar talk. I'm not going to be lighting the candles for today's altar talk because I will be talking about the altar itself. Now, uh, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but then again, there's going to be a lot of people who agree with me on this. So, this is all up to your personal preference on whether you want to have an altar or not. An altar is essentially a sacred space that is just used for your rituals. Um, when I normally I don't have an altar. Uh, Most of my rituals I do outside. I don't like to do rituals inside just in case. Um, and also because I'm normally living with somebody who doesn't quite understand or doesn't approve of paganism in general. So, I mean, it's really just like touch and go. The reason why I do have an altar now, and it's not technically 100% mine. It is actually a split altar between me and my girlfriend. My girlfriend recently made the decision to start learning about and practicing paganism. Partly my fault. To completely, totally, honestly, my fault. Um, but an um, a lot of the things I want to be showing you today are not necessary to perform rituals. The only thing that's really necessary to perform rituals is you yourself, your mind, and your pointer finger. Um, so that being said, don't feel, especially if you're new. Well, if you're new, the props, the altar tools, they do come in handy to like kind of get you used to performing rituals. But again, they're not a necessity. You don't have to have this, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I've seen people, make an altar off of $5. Um, Most of the stuff, you know, I got from the dollar store, or I got just rummaging around, or you know, it was just laying around. Um, the most expensive thing that I have right now is my Athame, and I'll be getting to that soon. Um, but I want to show you the parts of the altar where they should be placed, traditionally where they should be placed, and explain to you their functions. I'm actually going to start with these two statues. All right. Now this is the goddess statue. All right. I made this myself. As you can see, it is made out of plaster of Paris. Um, this was a this was actually, both my statues were actually really hard to make, but I'm happy with the results. They're not perfect, but you know what? What is? Um, and then this is the God statue. I use base. I use uh, just the base of what um the represents the masculine and the feminine. As you can tell, that I used the blank symbol of the horned god for the god statue, and the symbol of the blank mother goddess as the goddess statue. In front of these, or next to them, should be candles. A white candle and a black candle. White candle on the goddess side, black candle on the god side. Traditionally, you're actually seeing the altar the way it should be seen, from the south looking north. So, from your perspective, the goddess statue is on the left, while the god statue is on the right. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be statues like these, or statues at all. If you got some childhood toys laying around, use those. I've seen people use action figures and little dolls and everything for representative of the god and goddess. It's not unheard of, and if you have a deep connection to those things, use them. By all means, use them. If you feel like you have to have an altar set up, you know, if you're into what is that, Nightmare Before Christmas, use a Jack and Sally doll. Not saying nothing, just saying. Um, let's see. Let's go with the centerpiece, which is another one of my creations. It's my first one, actually. This is the pentacle. It represents, depending on what path you're on, it either represents the element of earth or ether. To me, it's ether. And again, this is made out of plaster of Paris, strengthened, and it's real solid. I like it. Again, this was my first piece. I put my heart into this one. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it that I wanted this to be perfect. It's not, but for me, it's good enough. As you can see, I painted each of the corners. The purple represents spirit, the blue represents water, the green represents earth, the red, which kind of looks orange in the video, represents fire, and the air represents, and the yellow represents air. I also put 5 symbols in it. I put the triple goddess symbol, which is the moon with the 2 crescent moons, the horned god symbol, which actually, here, let me put it up closer for you. The horned god symbol, which is right there. The spiral symbol, which the spiral symbol actually does mean a lot to me. People think that life just goes on in a straight line, and it really doesn't. Life goes in a spiral. You will come back to the same problems over and over and over again throughout your life. And each time it's going to be harder and harder to get through that. But these are lessons that must be learned. The next symbol is the zodiac Scorpio. Since this is my first piece, I did put my heart and soul into this, making it. And I am, in fact, a Scorpio. Scorpio also represents the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, as well as the Triskel. The Triskel represents the cycle of life, death, rebirth. And also, to me, it also represents the balance between knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration. So, that's my centerpiece. Pentacles are traditionally in the centerpiece. Sometimes people actually have a cauldron, a little cauldron on top of it to burn their incense or their herbs or whatever they have. I don't have a cauldron. I would like a cauldron. I don't have a cauldron. Cauldrons are representative of the goddess, and they play a major part in Celtic magic, which I actually kind of do enjoy. Let's go with the chalice next. Now, this is just a little wine glass that I got from the dollar store, but the reason why I got it is because it's blue. It's like tinted blue, a little bit at the bottom, and I thought that was pretty cool. The chalice is representative of water and the feminine aspect of energy. A lot of people won't like me saying this, but it does represent the female reproductive system. And in cases like the Great Rite, that's exactly what it is. Traditionally, it is set on the left side or the west of the altar. along with the water bowl. Again, the water bowl is just like the chalice, but this is mainly used for more blessing and purifications. This, and like I said, again, that's on the left side of the altar. And this is a bowl of salt. Normally I have it covered with another bowl to try to keep the moisture out, so now it looks like a little Pokeball. But salt represents earth, and it is also used for purifications and blessing items and the such. Normally you would want to use sea salt. I don't have sea salt, so I'm just using normal iodized salt. Sea salt is to me, sea salt has more benefit to it than iodized salt. So if you have the chance to, or if you would like to have a salt bowl, then try to use sea salt. And that's set up in the north. To the east, we have an incense burner, which it's actually covered in incense ash right now. So it's just a normal, just a wooden thing. It was buck. I also have hidden, because my cat's sneaky like that, I have it wrapped up so my cat can't get at it. Boxed up. I have a smudge stick. It's sage. It's wrapped up nice and neat. This is used for, again, cleansing. Yes, there is a lot of cleansing in the pagan tradition, but this is also representative of air. It will go next to, in this case, and I will actually put it down at the end of the video. I'll show you the altar from an aerial perspective, but that all represents air. And it's set in the east. As for fire, you want a lighter or matches, whatever. But if you use a lighter, that lighter should be meant only for this. It should not be used for anything else. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm a smoker, so I do not use this lighter to light my cigarettes. Once blessed, that's it. So yes, I even bless my lighter. I am that anal. So now I'm going to go through something that is a little controversial for most people. And this is what gets a lot of people, and people have negative feelings about this. But this is an Athame, also known as the white-handled knife. The Athame should never be sharpened. Mine isn't sharp at all. I mean, I'm pressing fairly hard on this, and I don't feel nothing. I mean, the tip's a little pointy, you know, but that comes with the price. The Athame represents fire and the masculine, so in the great right, it will represent the male. I really liked this one when I was actually looking for things to set up the altar. This is actually my most expensive piece, and it was only $20. So I got it at I call it the hippie store, because they got a lot of incense and a lot of candles, and they actually within the last couple of years they actually started doing more of the pagan stuff. So I was actually really glad when they started doing that. But I really liked this Athame. It caught my eye almost immediately. It was sheathed, so all I saw was the handle, but what caught my eye was this, and I noticed that the sheath itself was fairly thin. I asked to see it, and when I pulled it out, this is what I saw. I like it. Now, you don't have to have an Athame If you don't feel comfortable with knives, or if you can't lock up your altar and you got little kids around, use a wand instead. It has the same properties as the Athame. Some people actually do view the Athame as air, and the wand as air. I view it as fire. I have always uh, viewed uh, metal period as fire, and especially uh, blades of any type. Just for the simple fact is that you can't have a good blade without a good fire. Just saying. So the Athame should never be sharp and should never ever be used for cutting anything. Your cutting utensil, and this is necessarily isn't a ritual prop, but a lot of herbalists use it. It's called a bowling, or the black handled knife, which oddly enough, it's black handled. Um, this is a blade used to cut herbs. As you can see, the blade is curved, but the blade is on the inside, not the outside. Um, so if you have an herb garden, you probably have one of these. Um, Bowlings are meant to be sharp, but only meant to cut herbs. Never, ever, ever use a bowling to cut flesh. Never, ever, ever use your Athame to cut flesh. Don't cut flesh, period. You're messed up. Anyways, I talked about the white and black candles, but as you notice, there is a green candle here to the north, a yellow to the east, a red to the south, and a blue to the west. These represent the four cardinal positions. They also represent the four corners. In my case, I call them guardians. When in ritual and you're calling what it's called calling quarters, I use guardians, not quarters. You light the candles to represent their being here. So, in the purpose of calling quarters or guardians, or I know some traditions call them towers, is to make sure that only the energy you want is here, and that nothing else comes in. That's what the purpose of the guardians are for. So in the north we have green, which represents earth. In the east we have yellow, which represents air. The south we have red, which represents fire. And the west, which is blue, represents, of course, water. And if you couldn't already tell, the feminine elements are earth and water, and the masculine elements are fire and air. So that's my little altar. The altar itself is actually set on a wall mirror, which I actually like. I actually like that, and it's actually fairly close to the ground because I don't have anything to actually put it up higher. And since it is a small altar, I don't want it to be on something that teeters. But I'm going to show you guys now what it looks like if you were standing above it. So let's get this up and at 'em, and let's see here. There we go, ish. Alright, so that is my altar, and this is going to be part of my altar talk. This video is a little late, so this is number 3. I'll be making number 4 as this one loads up. So I hope you guys learned something, and as always, blessed be.